Some legends are told, some turn to dust or to gold, but you will remember me for centuries.
This is the Cameron Parker Show, brought to you by Spreaker, where we discuss everything from around the local professional sports scene in Colorado, such as the Denver Broncos.
Chris Harris comes out. I don't know if he was on the drive, but he said I knew 15 seconds into that game that I should have been on T.Y. Hilton. If players are coming out and saying that, it falls again on the coaching staff.
Not to mention insiders from around your local sports scene. Ryan Spilborgs, former outfielder for your Colorado Rockies.
It's not going to be the 25 guys that leave spring training that are going to be the only guys the entire season. I mean, you need depth. You need guys that are going to be in your minor leagues that you may not expect.
Ryan Edwards.
You know, when you're talking about an offensive line, it's about the five best guys, right? And you're talking about the five best guys gelling. There hasn't been a lot of time for that.
It's showtime. Are you ready? Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. It is another edition of the Cameron Parker Show. This is obviously your host, and that is myself, yours truly, Cameron Parker. Welcome into today's Tuesday broadcast. We will be discussing, obviously, the Brock Osweiler news. I will be eating crow, certainly, during this entire broadcast, talking about how Brock Osweiler became a Denver Bronco, but presenting it in a way that is unbiased because of the fact of, because of everything that's been out there as far as Brock Osweiler, what he potentially brings to the table, all of that. And what will that mean, certainly, for the Denver Broncos and their quarterback situation going forward? Another topic, certainly, to discuss will end up being the NFL season preview. We are here, ladies and gentlemen. Kickoff is about we are now officially 3 to 4 days, I believe, until kickoff on Sunday. Or at least for the Denver Broncos season, which will end up kicking off on Monday. So the Denver Broncos are primed, certainly for at least poised to try and make the playoffs here this coming season. So again, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Cameron Parker Show. I want to thank you all for tuning in these past few times and enjoying this sports conversation of the Denver Broncos. We're going to talk about the Rockies once kind of the end of the season ends up nearing, but with the NFL season kind of now starting to kick off, it's important to talk about the most important team in the Colorado metro area, and that will be the Denver Broncos. I want to change things up a little bit as far as some of the musical breaks. It will still be my good friend. It'll still be Sayer Bettinger, but I want to do a little something different for you guys. I want to actually play his full music and get you guys a chance to listen to his full musical bed and full lyrical sound during my breaks. If you guys would like to if you guys would actually like to call in, please call the 303-956-6991 number. It's hooked into Skype. And in fact, if I actually get you through my phone, I can actually put you guys on speaker and we can talk, therefore, on the broadcast. If you guys want to chat through Spreaker, please create the Spreaker account and chime in on the chat line, as some people have frequently done throughout the Cameron Parker Show. It is an NFL season preview, ladies and gentlemen. We are discussing the NFC side of things, where it is the Dallas Cowboys. The news just broke about minutes ago that Ezekiel Elliott's suspension is upheld. It is upheld, meaning he is suspended for 6 games. 6 games. And that also means that the Denver Broncos will be facing the Dallas Cowboys without Ezekiel Elliott. So thank you guys very much for tuning in to this Cameron Parker Show. Cameron Parker Show. like us on Facebook, or like the show on Facebook, or should I say like me on Facebook. The Facebook page is Cameron Parker, and it's a picture of me with headphones on. Please like that Facebook page. Follow the show handle at CP_show. And as always, follow the more popular Twitter handle, and that is the personal Twitter account, and that is Cameron Parker PO. I want to thank you guys again for tuning in, and we will be right back. And when we return, we'll dive at first into this Brock Osweiler conundrum of him re-signing with the Denver Broncos. But first, I teased it before. Here's a full song from the editor over at Predominantly Orange, and his name is Sayer Benninger.
Let the heavens roar and all that's within me. Can't stop singing now. Revival is coming. There's no other name. To you be the glory. Every victory you have delivered me. Don't ever stop. Come on and sing it now. Lift up a shout of praise. With all my heart, I will bless your name. Give it all to you. You're all I need. From the grip of pain, you have rescued me. Sweep me off my feet. I will dance for you. Everlasting love, oh, it surrounds me. Vindicating grace, my God, you're amazing. Don't ever stop, come on and sing it now. Lift up a shout of praise. With all my heart, I will bless your name. Give it all to you. You're all I need. From the grip of pain, you have rescued me. Sweep me off my feet. I will dance for you. With all my heart, I will bless your name. Give it all to you. You're all I need. From the grip of pain, you have rescued me. Sweep me off my feet. I will dance for you. With all my heart, I will bless your name. Give it all to you. You're all I need. From the grip of pain, you have rescued me. Sweep me off my feet. I will dance for you. With all my heart, I will bless your name. Give it all to you. You're all I need. From the grip of pain, you have rescued me. Sweep me off my feet. I will dance for you.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is the Cameron Parker Show. That was Dance for You. If you guys want to purchase that on iTunes, go to Spotify. It is by Celebrate Worship. Sayer and his family is actually not part of Celebrate Worship located in Sioux Falls, South Dakota anymore. They actually ended up moving to Meadows Church over in Omaha, Nebraska. Very happy for their family, very happy for their move, and very happy for him especially to get the chance to spread his wings and obviously spread the gospel along the way as well. So thank you guys very much for tuning into the Cameron Parker Show. It is obviously a special show, should I say, because this is the first time I'm doing two different poll questions of the day. And, well, you're probably wondering, why am I doing two poll questions of the day? Well, I will give you 2 words and 2 words only. Brock Osweiler. That's exactly why. Brock Osweiler signing with the Denver Broncos. And so Brock Osweiler is signed with the Denver Broncos. Now, the poll questions with an S at the end, so plural. The first one is the return of Brock Osweiler means the Broncos are doomed with him as a backup, fine with him as a backup, and currently right now it's actually a landslide with that poll question saying that he is fine as a backup. The other poll question, and while it is a landslide currently right now, I can tell you from personal experience being at the Fan Football Fest that 2 people in particular were vividly upset at John Elway for bringing in Brock Osweiler. 2 people in particular were incredibly upset that he was signed back to the Denver Broncos. But the second poll question was, has Broncos country forgiven Brock Osweiler now that he has returned to where he started? Here's the thing. I think that both questions are very, very important. One, because we wrap ourselves so much into the image of a person. And I admit I fell into the trap of accusing Brock Osweiler of wanting to win his own Super Bowl ring. And I think that gets lost at times when you think about Brock Osweiler and the White House visit, him wanting to miss a White House visit, him missing a ring ceremony, him wanting to miss out on that. And while it certainly did not appear as the best image for Brock Osweiler, I can understand it from the perspective that Brock Osweiler wants to be his own man. He wants to earn the right to win a ring. And he wants to earn it without the shadow of a Hall of Fame quarterback that was at the time behind him and then at the time ahead of him on the depth chart, which soon the Denver Broncos won the Super Bowl. They won Super Bowl 50. The point being, though, is that we as a society sometimes have a tendency to forget to forgive. We as a society tend to forget to forgive. And I think that when ultimately it comes down to it, there has to be that in order to show grace. Grace is getting something you do not deserve in return. And ultimately with Brock Osweiler, there has to be a grace period. And I think that he understands that. And I think that as far as a football perspective also, the Broncos, and especially just the quarterback conundrum, if you will, of the people and the players that were out there, there was nothing out there aside from Colin Kaepernick. And because the Broncos went down the Colin Kaepernick road last year, and because Colin Kaepernick basically burned that bridge down by not wanting to accept the pay cut, he ended up not becoming a Denver Bronco. Elway wanted to basically take Colin Kaepernick with a pay cut of around $7 million, which is pretty freaking reasonable of a quarterback salary. And in fact, when you think about the situation that the Denver Broncos were going to be in, it's a situation that frankly would have benefited Colin Kaepernick. And I'm almost certain there's at least some thought into Colin Kaepernick's mind that's saying, hey, you know what? I probably should have accepted the pay cut to go to Denver. But that's in the past. And right now, Colin Kaepernick has now created a media circus. Whether you guys support it or not, it's a media circus to the point where do NFL football teams want to have that in their locker room? Players are certainly coming out and supporting Colin Kaepernick, and I'm not here to discuss the stance of kneeling at a national anthem or standing versus a national anthem. That's not what I'm here to discuss. I'm just here to discuss the fact that the Colin Kaepernick situation is just in a state to where they just don't want him to be a part of their football team because of the media circus that could entail. Now, strictly as a football move, and with the current state of the quarterbacks that were there for the taking, you had guys like Austin Davis, Ryan Mallett, Cody Kessler, maybe via a trade. So I think that there were really bad options out there. And if really you were wanting to maybe take a chance and take a nice leap forward, it would have been ideal for you to trade for a guy like a Tyrod Taylor. Maybe send a fourth, fifth, maybe a sixth, maybe a third to fourth round draft pick, maybe a fifth round draft pick for Tyrod Taylor, and to at least try and solidify your starter spot going into this season. And also you wanted a quarterback that is, despite being a rookie under Mike McCoy, you wanted a player that at least is somewhat familiar with the offense that Mike McCoy has ran when he's been with the Denver Broncos. So at the end of the day, the dots pretty much were there for Brock Osweiler and the Denver Broncos to have a marriage again. So, and also, again, John Elway looks like a freaking genius again. They end up signing Brock Osweiler to about an $800,000 contract, while the Cleveland Browns do the Cleveland Browniest thing ever in the first place by acquiring Brock Osweiler and paying the remaining $15.5 million or so of his contract. So John Elway is proving once again that he is one of the best executives in the National Football League. That's a separate take as well. But Brock Osweiler ultimately now comes into a situation that is favorable to him. And much like I made a bold prediction, and I'm not here to make a bold prediction about Brock Osweiler, but much like I made a bold prediction about Jamal Charles, and Jamal Charles obviously overtaking C.J. Anderson for the starting running back job, I think there is a scenario maybe to where Brock Osweiler can overtake Simeon. But there is a overlying point here, and it has to do with Paxton Lynch. And it's something that, you know, in the message thread that I've had with the guys over at Predominantly Orange, and one of the friends and one of the writers that I write with brought up this pretty legit point. And I want to get this, I want to tell you guys about it because it's kind of interesting and it has a lot of merit to it. Initially, the prognosis was that Lynch is going to not miss a significant amount of time, and that obviously he's not going to go on IR, but there's this case to where Paxton Lynch might be out longer than anticipated. And because of that, the Broncos obviously went and got Brock Osweiler. But the point that I want to make, and the point that I think has a lot of merit is, do you guys not think it's at all a little suspicious that the expectation is for Paxton Lynch to return in week 5? You guys don't think that's at all a little bit suspicious? See, I think that, and if you guys have been following the Denver Broncos schedule, you look at the Denver Broncos schedule, they have a bye week in week 5. So I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that if, let's just say for the sake of argument, that Trevor Siemian is 2-2 and playing horribly, but is 2-2, or is 1-3 heading into week 5, and Paxton Lynch is fully healthy, and his throwing shoulder, he has movement in his ligaments in his shoulder. He has movement in the shoulder to where he has no constraint in throwing a football. If that happens, and if that happens to where Paxton Lynch has no constraint whatsoever, there will be a time maybe to where the Broncos might just consider Paxton Lynch to start over Trevor Siemian and Brock Osweiler. But then, and I think that that's the reason why they brought Brock Osweiler in here, is because if there's a scenario to where Trevor Siemian poops the bed and falls kind of on his face a little bit, I think that there's a scenario to where they now are covered and they can bring in a guy in this 4-game stretch just in case something does happen. Because remember, we all understand and we all know that that a injured Trevor Siemian is an injured Trevor Siemian and it completely immobilizes him as a quarterback. Trevor Siemian is a different quarterback when he is injured. But then again, any quarterback, frankly, for that matter, that is injured or has a significant injury that is probably more led to believe than maybe what's anticipated, there will be potentially some, I guess, reports out there that say that maybe he isn't as injured, or there are speculation that maybe his injury is more serious than they appear. You're going to get those certain reports out there. But I think that for Trevor Siemian, he has to perform healthy. And I think that this is an important season for the Denver Broncos entirely with their quarterback situation. And this is also why I think they went and brought in Brock Osweiler. Because it's a situation to where if there is no momentum from any of the quarterbacks, the Denver Broncos will do anything, and I mean anything by all means possible, to go after a starting caliber quarterback in free agency and also go after maybe a high draft pick or maybe move up to draft a high quarterback in the NFL draft this coming year. But the Brock Osweiler thing in general, and I think that's the thing that kind of makes this Brock Osweiler thing interesting, because you can't talk about Brock Osweiler without talking about Trevor Siemian and Paxton Lynch. But to kind of go back to the Brock Osweiler thing for a second, and it's a point that I made on Twitter, and obviously it caught some attention to the people that follow me on Twitter. And I do think it's true, and I want to put the point out there because I was told to shut up by some people on Twitter. But I want to clarify exactly what I said. It is the situation to where the roles are reversed. Do you guys hear me? It is the situation to where the roles are reversed. Meaning, Trevor Siemian is the 3-year quarterback, and Brock Osweiler is the rookie quarterback. Okay? I don't think that there's a scenario to where Trevor Siemian wins that game. You see, and I think that that's why there. Now I say that, but there's a situation to where there is something about Trevor Siemian that I can't put my finger on. His back shoulder throws are incredible. There has to be more consistency with Trevor Siemian, but I think that, and I made the point, obviously, multiple times, but like I said, every quarterback has a ceiling. We just don't know what Trevor Siemian's ceiling is. Is it actually a situation to where we might see maybe a higher level of an Alex Smith, or are we going to see a guy like a Kyle Orton? I think that there's just this. I feel like there's this simplicity with Trevor Siemian, and it's also a simplicity to the point where it irks a lot of fans. And I'm here to tell you, I felt personally that Paxton Lynch, I thought that he was going to win the job, but he didn't perform up to the standards to win the starting quarterback job, which in turn is why I felt the Kyle Sloter quarterback situation was handled poorly. If the Kyle Sloter was handled exactly the way it should have been, which is to have any quarterback or any positional player vie for a backup spot or a starter spot, Kyle Sloter would have been on this team. So I think that ultimately when you look at this whole bearing of a quarterback situation and you look at a guy like a Brock Osweiler, the other thing that you have to understand is going back to that New England game reference, the New England winter game reference that I mentioned on Twitter. There's that point again that people need to understand, that he was down 14 points in the snow, and yes, there's arguments to be made that the Patriots made some clock management errors. Yes, I think that there's some merit to that. However, you still have to capitalize on those moments. And Brock Osweiler capitalized on those moments, becoming the first quarterback to start against the New England Patriots and win that game. And he didn't just win that game, but he won that game in overtime on a toss play to C.J. Anderson, and that's what won them the game. So I think that when you look at Brock Osweiler and you look at the certain situation that he's in, excuse me, sorry for the cough. When you look at the situation that Brock Osweiler now finds him in, he wanted to go to a place that he felt comfortable. He wanted to go to a place where he felt like he wasn't threatened. He wanted to go to a place that is good for his family and especially good for himself. When he makes comments like that he would have come back to Denver if it was a dollar deal, that tells you in and of itself that there was something not right about him wanting to leave Houston, and potentially it was an agent issue between he and his agent. So I think that there is a situation that maybe Brock Osweiler does start in these 4 games, but I think he's just here to be a backup. He's just here to be a backup. But anyway, so I think that overall, I think you look at the situation, you look at what I think you look at the situation that's there for the Denver Broncos. You look at the situation that is certainly provided itself for Brock Osweiler. It is a good situation, and it's a good situation that is a bang for your buck type deal, to where maybe Brock Osweiler can rejuvenate himself, whether it's when it's with the Denver Broncos. And I think that he realizes he did make a mistake. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, that has been the Brock Osweiler discussion, the Denver Broncos discussion, but we're going to save a Denver Broncos discussion For the AFC side of things, which will be taking place come on Thursday, which we'll be talking about the AFC seasonal preview. But coming up next, there will be no coast-to-coast section, but there will be a seasonal preview. The last half an hour of the show will be dedicated to just the NFC only. Thank you for tuning in to the Cameron Parker Show. This is Awaken Love by Sayer Bettinger.
Up from the ashes I will rise. Your light is breaking through the night. I'm breathing in the air of life. Not giving in, this is my fight. Come break me down, every part of me. Nothing can stop me now. Awaken, holy fire, breathe life into my soul. 'Cause we're ready for revival. Come awaken, come awaken, love. Come awaken, come awaken, love. Come awaken, come awaken. Nothing can ever match your power. Shout out for victory is ours. Oh, break me down, every part of me. Nothing can stop me now. Awaken, holy fire, breathe life into my soul. 'Cause we're ready for revival. Come awaken, come awaken, love. Come awaken, come awaken, love. Come awaken, come awaken. Awaken, holy fire, breathe life into my soul. 'Cause we're ready for revival. Come awaken, come awaken. Awaken, holy fire, breathe life into my soul. 'Cause we're ready for revival. Come awaken, come awaken, love. Come awaken, come awaken, love. Come awaken, come awaken, love.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is the Cameron Parker Show seasonal preview of the NFC. Well, the Atlanta Falcons went to the Super Bowl, and we all are, I'm sure, aware that the Atlanta Falcons maybe had the crash of the century of the NFL Super Bowl years, being up 28-3 and losing to the New England Patriots in probably the most epic Super Bowl probably in the last 10, 15 years. And I think that I'm sure you look back, and I'm sure that you hear certainly about the Atlanta Falcons players of saying that they want to learn from it, and they are. I think Matt Ryan said himself about a month. Not a month ago, but about I want to say a few weeks later or a few weeks before, he said that they were watching the game. They were watching the Super Bowl over again. Look, I get it. I get wanting to watch tape of the Super Bowl. I get wanting to watch tape of and try and learn from your mistakes. But at the same time, as crappy as that was, you have to move on. You have to move on. And for the Atlanta Falcons, it's imperative for them to move on heading into this season. So we will start with the NFC South. And it's a pretty interesting division. I think that the one thing about the NFC that's a little bit interesting is that there are a lot of divisions, and probably I think it's all, I think I want to say probably three, two at the very least, but three divisions that are kind of interesting when you look at all the teams, and it's kind of been that way in a couple years past. But we're going to start with the NFC South. And I think that this is why the Atlanta Falcons have to be extra careful coming into this season, because you look at the teams that's in the division, talking about the New Orleans Saints and Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the Carolina Panthers. You look at all those teams except for maybe the Saints upgraded their team significantly in the draft. Talking about the Carolina Panthers and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers might be the biggest surprise of all the teams in the National Football League. They just signed T.J. Ward, formerly of the Denver Broncos. But not only that, they really upgraded the offense. With the likes of O.J. Howard and Deshaun Jackson. It's a situation now to where you really have given Jameis Winston every opportunity to be successful as an NFL quarterback. You've given him Deshaun Jackson. You've now have Mike Evans. And oh, by the way, you've now made a significant draft of O.J. Howard. And you have a other underrated tight end in Cameron Brate. So there is potential there for for people to actually maybe even make an impact, and I think that for the Atlanta Falcons, they have to look at both Carolina and Tampa Bay as kind of that scary team. And you look at Carolina, all they really needed was a running back that can actually make Cam Newton comfortable. And they gave him, in my opinion, the best running back in the entire draft in Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey is David Johnson, Le'Veon Bell mixed into one human body. He is a human highlight reel. He's like Dominique Wilkins in those old basketball years. He is a human highlight reel waiting to happen. Did you guys hear the report today that said that he alone has his own playbook? That tells you in and of itself they are just waiting and probably foaming at the mouth and probably drooling, I should say. They are probably drooling for the opportunity for Christian McCaffrey to be unleashed with the Carolina Panthers. And so I think that for the Carolina Panthers and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, this is kind of that interesting scenario to where they could challenge the Falcons, and the Falcons have to be careful. In fact, I say that the Atlanta Falcons take a step back and the Carolina Panthers win the division. Moving on to the NFC North, you have the Chicago Bears, the Detroit Lions, the Green Bay Packers, and the Minnesota Vikings. The Minnesota Vikings are now Adrian Peterson-less. Adrian Peterson actually went to the New Orleans Saints but you're just unsure about the impact going to the NFC South again. You're just unsure about the impact that he is going to make with his new club. He spent about 85 to 90% of his snaps under center. None of it has been made in the shotgun. So that's going to be kind of a huge transitional piece for Adrian Peterson. But can he adjust? He's a terrific running back. Hall of Fame running backs have proven to adjust over time. We'll see if he does. The Minnesota Vikings have Latavius Murray and Dalvin Cook. They drafted Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook is also an incredible running back. He's a running back that is proven enough maybe to where he could separate himself as the best running back in this National Football League draft that came out in 2017. But they have some weapons. They have some kind of under-the-radar weapons with Adam Thielen and probably, in my opinion, one of the more underrated top wide receivers in the National Football League, and that's Stephon Diggs. And you look certainly at the defense. Minnesota's defense, one could argue, is on par with that of the Denver Broncos. You have Anthony Barr, you have Xavier Rhodes, you have just linebackers and defensive ends, Everest Griffin, and you have players that potentially could be those game-changing players on defense, and Minnesota has that, and they are obviously the best defense in that division, and probably the best division in the NFC, next to Seattle's, Arizona's, and Los Angeles. And obviously Atlanta's as well, because Atlanta went through a major change as well when Dan Quinn finally had a full season to coach under his belt. So I think that when you look at the season and you look at the teams in here, you still got to look at Green Bay. You still got to look at Green Bay as kind of the team to beat. However, the Detroit Lions are an interesting team, and you say it every single year. But the Detroit Lions are a very interesting team this year because they now have, it appears, an offensive identity, and an identity to where they want to make Amir Abdullah the focal point of the offense as a running back. And he fits exactly to what the Detroit Lions want to do. Reggie Bush never worked out there. But it seems that Amir Abdullah is just primed and ready to have a breakout year with the Detroit Lions. And I think that it could be only a matter of time before we start seeing him climb up the ranks and being like a LaShawn McCoy before he had knee trouble. Amir Abdullah is a shifty back, and he's shifty enough and powerful enough to where he can run on the inside. Don't let his small frame fool you. He's certainly better on the outside of a runner and shifty enough and quick enough to make breaks to get to the next level. But he is quick, but he also has very underrated strength to run between the tackles. And Amir Abdullah could be the breakout player of the entire NFC North. So I would not be shocked if Amir Abdullah, runs for at least 800 to 900 yards this year, if that's what they're going for. The problem would be his fumbling issues. He's fumbled the ball a lot, at least in his NFL career. Was not the case at the University of Nebraska. But I think ultimately it can go either way. And with the Vikings, it's going to hinge all on Sam Bradford. It's going to hinge on the quarterback play. And so I think that with both of those scenarios, Green Bay is still the team to beat. And I say that because you have the likes of an Aaron Rodgers on your football team. And it goes with the Tom Brady narrative. It goes with, at one point, the Drew Brees narrative. But you get to that point for that you will always have good quarterback play, and Aaron Rodgers will give you that. And so now you look at the players like Aaron Rodgers, that he has the chance to have Jordy Nelson back for a full season, Randall Cobb, Ty Montgomery, Jared Abbrederis, and Martellus Bennett as a tight end. And it'll be very interesting to see how they use Martellus Bennett in that tight end spot. And now that Martellus Bennett now can become the focal point of a tight end now, heading into this season. And because certainly I think that Jared Cook was not really the tight end that the Packers certainly wanted. He was certainly a very underrated and probably underappreciated tight end, but he never really gave them kind of that oomph to get them over the hump to move further along in the playoffs. And I think that that's why the under-the-radar player in this entire NFC North is a guy like Jamal Williams. And I really look at the running back play, particularly with the Green Bay Packers, because it's been that way for the past 5, 6, 7 years for the Green Bay Packers. They have to have a steady running game for them to be successful and to take a shoulder off of Aaron Rodgers. And that's why I think that Ty Montgomery, as effective as he was in the backfield, I still think, and this is why they probably drafted Jamal Williams, and I think that that's because they feel that over time, Ty Montgomery's body will not handle the load of 20 carries a game. So they need a guy like a Jamal Williams that will be that guy in the future and is going to be that guy that's going to be strongly effective. And I think that you look at certainly, again, he's a rookie. And I think that when you look as far as this running back class, Jamal Williams, Dalvin Cook, Christian McCaffrey, Leonard Fournette, all these guys are effective, and it just shows you how incredibly different and unique and deep that running back draft class truly is. And Jamal Williams, in my opinion, has the makings to be kind of another Frank Gore. And if he can be that type of running back to put the pressure off of Aaron Rodgers, then you might have a really good football team offensively. But on the other side of the ball, they have to stay healthy on the defensive side of the ball in their secondary. Their secondary, there was no NFL football team in this secondary that took more hits in the last 5, 6, 7 weeks of the regular season last year than the Green Bay Packers. They have to stay healthy in the secondary for them to be effective. So I would look for the Green Bay Packers to be a playoff team, and I think that they get to the point where they do win that division. I see the Green Bay Packers winning the NFC North. The NFC West is the one where it was very, very anticipated as far as a season or preview, with the Arizona Cardinals, the San Francisco 49ers, the Seattle Seahawks, and the St. Louis Rams for a point in time. But that division at one point in time was one of the more competitive divisions in all of NFL football. But now you have the San Francisco 49ers kind of taking a step back. You have the Los Angeles Rams taking a step back, looking towards the future with Jared Goff. So now you have the Seattle Seahawks and the Arizona Cardinals vying for that division. And it's going to come down to the Seattle Seahawks. Can they get themselves over the hump with some stellar quarterback play from first name Russell, last name Wilson? And can the Arizona Cardinals have a steady season with Carson Palmer under the helm? Or will we see Blaine Gabbert? Yes, Blaine Gabbert at some point during the regular season. Who knows? But I think the team that kind of might be under the radar is the Los Angeles Rams. And call me crazy, but I think that at some point in the year, they're not going to be a playoff team. They're not going to be a playoff team, but I think that the Los Angeles Rams could be competitive enough where they can spoil a team's playoff hopes. And I think that for the Los Angeles Rams, they have good enough pieces now to look towards the future for Jared Goff. They just traded for Sammy Watkins. And so now you have Sammy Watkins, you have Robert Woods, you have you have Todd Gurley, who I'd imagine is chomping at the bit to return to the form that he had a year ago in his rookie year. So I think that their makings are certainly there offensively, but they just have to get it together. Defensively, they're manned by Wade Phillips, the defensive coordinator formerly of the Denver Broncos, but they might be without their top defensive player, Aaron Donald, for a significant point of time if this holdout continues. So we'll end up seeing what that all entails. I don't think it's going to be a holdout for too much longer, but it could go into the regular season and could damage the entire chemistry of the football team. So I think there's that chance that the Los Angeles Rams might be a team to watch coming into this regular season, but the Seattle Seahawks take the NFC West. The NFC East, you look at all the divisions and you look at all the divisions in the NFC, this is the one division where to where you look at all the teams and you look at them respectively. Well, you know what? Let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll wrap it up with the NFC East and finish you guys up with my last and final piece, acoustic piece by Sayer. But here it is. This is Veins. It is the acoustic version from Sayer Bettinger.
We lift praise to you in heaven, and we raise our hands in adoration. For you are the God who saves, God who reigns, God forever, pouring grace, oh Lord. We need so much more of you. Your love is running through my veins, keeps my heart beating, keeps my heart beating. Jesus, you make me wanna sing, joy is lifting me, grace has set me free. Your love is running through my veins, keeps my heart beating, keeps my heart beating. Jesus, you make me wanna sing, joy is lifting me, grace has set me free. Chains have fallen off our feet, so we dance before our God and King. For you are the God who saves, God who reigns, God forever, pouring grace, oh Lord. We need so much more of you. 'Cause your love is running through my veins, keeps my heart beating, keeps my heart beating. Jesus, you make me wanna sing, joy is lifting me, grace has set me free. Your love is running through my veins, keeps my heart beating, keeps my heart beating. Jesus, you make me wanna sing, joy is lifting me, grace has set me free. Are shaking, your love is unending. I'm on the rock, I will not be shaken. Jesus, your love unfailing. So giving praise till the walls are shaking. Your love is unending. I'm on the rock, I will not be shaken. Jesus, your love unfailing. 'Cause your love is running through my veins, keeps my heart beating, keeps my heart beating. Your love is running through my veins, keeps my heart beating, keeps my heart beating. Jesus, you make me wanna sing. Joy has lifted me, grace has set me free. Your love is running through my veins. Oh, Jesus, you make me wanna sing. Joy has lifted me, grace has set me free.
Well, thank you very much for listening to Sayer's acoustic version of Veins. Be sure to get a copy of that over on iTunes Store, Spotify. If you want to listen to it on Spotify, just type in Celebrate Worship. It is my good friend and my editor over at Predominantly Orange, Sayer Benninger. Very proud of his move, obviously, to Omaha. And I'm very thankful for you guys to be listening to this Cameron Parker Show. And thank you guys for listening to the seasonal preview, the NFC seasonal preview. And in this one, we talk about the NFC East, which houses the Washington Redskins, the Dallas Cowboys, the Philadelphia Eagles, and the New York Football Giants. It's a very interesting division. I think that I kind of teased a little bit before we went to our final break that the Dallas Cowboys obviously are probably the team to beat. However, they took a significant hit when Ezekiel Elliott is now suspended for 6 games. So it opens up that NFC East significantly to the point where you look at a team like the Philadelphia Eagles. So I said that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers might be the surprise team. The Philadelphia Eagles could be another. And also the New York Giants. You know, Eli Manning is now getting up there in age. I believe he's 35, 36 now. So now you get this situation for the New York Football Giants. The Giants now get Eli Manning a weapon in Brandon Marshall to go alongside of Odell Beckham Jr. And not to mention the actual playmaker side of it that actually has that now has the Sterling Shepard explosive aspect to the offense, and then now you draft a tight end who I felt might have been one of the more explosive tight ends in this draft class. So it wasn't just the running backs that was deep this year, it was also the tight ends as well, and that was Evan Ingram. So Evan Ingram, Sterling Shepard, Brandon Marshall, and now Odell Beckham, it's going to give Eli Manning now weapons on the outside and inside to where he can expose defenses. And I think that now Eli Manning might actually feel comfortable throwing the football ever so often and finally now let teams beat you with his biggest strong suit, and that's throwing the football. He's going to have to need some semblance of a running game like Aaron Rodgers down with the Green Bay Packers, but they can win games now by throwing the football because when they get up big, their new underrated defense that they spent so much money on can now get after the quarterback with Olivier Vernon. The Philadelphia Eagles are a very interesting football team because they have a guy that's my favorite quarterback in the entire draft last year in Carson Wentz. He has Andrew Luck potential, but not only that, he has the Andrew Luck potential that we all saw when Andrew Luck was healthy. A quarterback that might have been the best quarterback in the National Football League. He's a guy that is so dynamic with the football and understands exactly where to throw the football. And I think that Carson Wentz, his decision-making was so impressive as a rookie. And for him to now take that step up and now play with a guy like an Alshon Jeffrey and now have a stable running game with a guy like a LeGarrette Blount and also have wide receivers of Nelson Aguilar coming up on the other side and maybe coming on strong on this football team. But now you get a solid number one in Alshon Jeffrey, which the team never had before, is a big deal for a guy like Carson Wentz. And now you also put in the fold LeGarrette Blount, formerly of the New England Patriots. So you now have a running game that's going to be a lightning and thunder with LeGarrette Blount and Darren Sproles, who's now getting up there in age. The Washington Redskins, well, this is also kind of that area for the Washington Redskins where everything will now hinge on their quarterback, Kirk Cousins, their $20 million man. What does the future hold for Kirk Cousins in this $20 man? I don't know. I personally don't think it's in Washington. I personally think that he actually ends up in San Francisco, which might flip a little bit as far as where San Francisco is now headed towards the future if they get a guy like a Kirk Cousins. But ultimately, I think the team to beat, so drum roll please with this division, I personally think that the Philadelphia Eagles are going to be a wild card team out of this division. But I think that because they're going to challenge with the Giants and the Eagles, but I think the Dallas Cowboys will play just fine in the absence of Ezekiel Elliott, and I think that they will do just fine. That was kind of my fast, abbreviated version of the NFC East. Thank you so very much for tuning into the Cameron Parker Show. It's been a pleasure to do this show with you guys and bring back the Cameron Parker Show that hit the airwaves at the Metropolitan State University of Denver on KMET Radio. Thank you very much for tuning in. You may be sure to follow me on Twitter at Cameron Parker PO. Follow the show handle like CP_show. Like the Facebook page at Cameron Parker. And please, next time, try and call in and as well as contribute to the show by creating a Spreaker account. This has been the Cameron Parker Show, and I will have Sayer Bettinger take us out. Everybody, have a great Wednesday, and I will be back on Thursday.
Up from the ashes, I will rise. Your light is breaking through the night. I'm breathing in the air of life. Not giving in, this is my fight.